I have had now a few people ask me what my view is on land expropriation, and I know my previous videos were not specific in terms of the South African point that's being faced now. So first of all, yes, I do live in South Africa, and for those of you who are curious as to what's happening here, pretty much everything is business as usual. There's most of the conflict that you see is happening in the media and in the comments threads of discussions of videos and articles and things like that. So when you go out into town and you're doing groceries or whatever, everyone is normal. No one is burning tires in the streets or anything at the moment. And also the interesting thing is that most people who you meet when you're out and about do not have the extreme views that are coming through in so many discussions in the media and on the internet. So in a lot of ways, it's the people who are shouting the loudest, the minority who have pretty extreme positions, whose voices are being heard the most, simply because they are shouting the loudest. They are making the biggest deal out of it, when most people are just going about their lives. So my views on land expropriation is that it is an incomplete solution. It is not holistic. It does not address all the issues that we face in South Africa, nor on a global level. Redistribution of resources on its own is not enough. That's why I have a similar view with things like basic income movements. Not that they are bad ideas, it's just that the issues that we face on a local and on a global level have a little bit more to them than just that. Now, when it comes to improving living conditions, living standards, things like that, yes, absolutely, every initiative that could alleviate the poverty and things like that are faced by so many should be investigated and explored and tested. However, on its own, it's again not a holistic solution, because we are facing a interconnected web of issues. We are facing psychological issues, we are facing addiction issues, we are facing issues of domestic abuse, and this is not just in poor households or in black households or in white households. This is everywhere. We are facing issues such as the environment being exploited for the benefit of financial gain. There are a lot of dynamics involved, and at the end of the day, what needs to change is humanity in terms of how we are living and what we see as acceptable and what we see as not acceptable, in conjunction with support structures to support people who are dealing with issues like the psychological issues that so often come with living in poverty, that so often come with being a member of society where society doesn't give a shit about you. Instances of addiction, of abuse, of neglect, things like that tend to be higher in impoverished communities, because people don't feel valued and they don't value themselves. They don't value and live the way that they would if they had actually been, if they actually felt like someone, even if it was, let's call it the government or society as a whole, actually cared about them. So that's just one dimension. Land expropriation is not going to address all of the other issues that contribute to a society that thrives on inequality. And that is currently how things are in South Africa and in most countries, where everything is based around this dynamic where there are a small percentage of people who have a hell of a lot of money and stuff, and a large percentage of people who have very little. And all of the issues that come connected with that. So, one of the recurring issues, especially in South African initiatives to try and alleviate poverty, is that people will be given something, like, let's say they are given a parcel of land, but there are not enough support structures in place to support them to actually effectively use what they've been given. There are not support structures in place that will support them to deal with any kind of psychological issues that might prevent them from effectively creating a good life for themselves. Even if it's something like self-esteem. Self-esteem, or lack thereof, can have such a huge impact on someone who's now facing the creation of a new venture. If I do not feel like I'm good enough to do something, then chances are that I am not going to try very hard. I'm going to give up on myself before I even begin. And that is that is an issue that a lot of people face. And again, that is not just in South Africa, and it's not just impoverished people, it's not just black, and it's not just white. It's all of us. So at the end of the day, the solutions that need to be implemented need to be holistic, need to address the different levels and different factors that are involved in creating the bigger picture, because it's a number of smaller parts that have come together to make this big picture that we're all in. And yes, this is something that maybe a lot of people are going to say is impossible, something that will never happen. But the best way to create positive change on a large scale is to implement holistic solutions that are based on the understanding of human nature, that are based on the understanding of how people think, how people live, what motivates us, how do we respond to stress, how do people who have come from impoverished backgrounds respond to stress? Is it different to how someone who has come from a middle income background responds to stress? What are the factors that contribute to the different ways that we respond to the challenges in our lives? All of these things need to be considered, and support structures need to be created for all the different types of people facing all the different types of issues that there are. And this is one of the things that I feel is lacking in a lot of different movements, proposals, charities, things like that. There are a lot of groups who are proposing that addressing one specific issue will solve everything. Like, let's take veganism as an example, that veganism is going to solve animal abuse and health issues, and it's going to save the economy and all of this, it's going to save the world. Veganism on its own, assuming that every single human in the world was willing to change their lifestyle, is not going to change those things, because it's not about what we choose to eat, it's about how we choose to run our businesses, where there are so many people who are willing to exploit and willing to abuse and willing to put other living creatures in horrific conditions in order to make money. And that has nothing to do for them with food and diet. That is about how business is done in the world. So, what I try to do is look at the bigger picture in anything. So, for example, I've actually written a proposal of a pilot project that is still very basic at the moment, because there is a lot of different things that would be involved in this pilot project. But essentially, the idea of it is to take different people from different backgrounds who face different challenges in life, create a small community where each person has their own home, their own space, and their own purpose within the community. And in order for them to stay in the community, they have to be an effective and a valuable part of society. So, for example, they have to contribute. But in the beginning, all that may be happening is the people who come in will be benefiting from the support structures that will be there. So people with, for example, addiction issues will come there. First step is, how can they be supported to work through their addiction? And how can they be supported to give themselves a new direction, a new focus, a new goal, a new purpose in life? And that's just one aspect. At the end of the project, the goal would be to create a self-sustaining community where people from all different walks of life can come, can be supported, can be part of something meaningful, and can be part of a little community that is caring for itself, and where the members of the community are caring for each other, where, yes, there are guidelines to follow in terms of, let's say, for example, someone is abusing their partner within their home. And if they are unwilling to change that behavior, and if that behavior continues, then the abuser will eventually be asked to leave the community. They will no longer be welcome. An idealistic, impossible fantasy. I suppose if everyone keeps saying that that's what it is, then that's what it's going to be. But it's things like that. I'm not saying that it's the solution, but it is an approach that attempts at least to take the holistic view of looking at all the different interconnected and interrelated issues, as well as the issues that only a small handful of people face, and find ways to support people to be better, to reach their potential, to have the opportunity to develop different skills, to find out what their passion is. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. As far as I'm aware, nothing like that has ever been tried. It would cost a huge amount of money. Well, you know, if I find a way to make that proposal a reality, then I will do it. For now, it's a concept that I will continue to develop, and I will continue to share what I see in terms of human nature and the developments in the world. So, thank you for watching, and if you would like any particular questions answered, or would like me to cover any other topics, then leave a message or a comment. If you'd like to support me, you can do so on Patreon or on Steemit, which is a social network that has its own cryptocurrency. Otherwise, I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching.